Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and today I'm talking with my guest Marieke, who used to suffer terribly from migraines and also other health issues, even though she grew up eating healthy foods like whole grains and vegetables. But like most of us, she also had a bit of a sweet tooth. And like most of us, she fought against making a big change in her diet, well, until she just couldn't suffer any longer. We'll get to Marieke's story in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at MyLifeAfterSugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration, so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, so here's my chat with Marieke. All right, so today I'm talking with Marieke, who's in Belgium. Marieke, can you tell us a little bit about your background, what you used to eat when you were a child?
Yeah, so I'm actually native from Germany. So I grew up there in Germany and I grew up like on a farm. So I think, I'd say, the way we grew up was my mom was really taking care of, good nutrition. And I mean, when I grew up, we were all into this whole grains was the thing, right? The low fat and the whole grains. So we got a lot of those high fiber, low grain, a whole grain diet. And we got a lot of really home cooked, everything was home cooked and self-made. So my mom put a lot of effort into that for sure. But definitely I would say I always had like a little bit of a sweet tooth. I was definitely the one looking for we had this my mom had this hideaway for sweets, and we would always go hunting for the sweets. I mean, it was also probably also part of the trigger thing, to go on the hunt and like, where did she hide it,
Yeah.
So yeah, but so I mean, I would say I've been lucky in the sense that I've always loved vegetables and I've always loved healthy foods. But I definitely also had a little bit of a sweet tooth, and I've had migraines ever since I was 3 years old. So, that was a big part of my childhood, that I had regular migraines. And then when I became like a teenager, I had those monthly hormonal migraines as well. So basically, I was having a whole lot of them. And I just remember that my parents, they tried so many things, they brought me to so many different doctors because I had digestive problems and the migraines, and I was kind of sensitive to many things. And I remember I was seeing that naturopath at the time. I mean, I just clearly still remember him telling me, so, okay, I want you to cut out all the sugar, so
Hmm.
no sugars anymore. And uh, and then I was like, okay, I think I was at the time I was maybe, I don't know, 17. And I was like, okay, so no more sugar. And then I went home and I started reading labels. And I literally thought, like, I mean, this guy is crazy. Like, how can I eat something without sugar? I mean, it's not possible. There's sugar and everything. And so I didn't also know how to do this. So I just said, I just discarded it. And and then when I moved out and basically I think, as I said, I was eating pretty healthily, but as I thought. But in the end, when that was in my early 30s, when with like, I did a lot of research because my health deteriorated and I was like feeling worse and worse. And then I came across this paleo diet. That
Paleo?
was the new thing at that time, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Maybe, this actually makes sense to me, not eating like your ancestors and, eating the whole foods. And so I thought I would give it a try. And I mean, that made such a big difference to me. Um, that basically, I mean, I went over to eating a lot of fatty fish. And I mean, I had grown up in this generation where fat was the bad thing, right? You have this whole low fat, and everywhere you have to, eat the margarine and, your cholesterol and even the sweets, the gummy bears. So in Germany, we have the gummy bears, right? And basically on the product label, it used to say without fat.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, this is good for me. I
Yeah,
mean, that's what the marketing is telling you, right?
exactly.
Um, so yeah, basically, no, no, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about how I changed my diet, right? From
Yes.
like trying this paleo thing. And yeah, exactly. I was, especially the fatty fish. So I was trying those things, it's like, oh, sardines, like, I just remember my grandfather having those, really smelly, nasty, cans of sardines. And I was like, ugh. But basically, I tried them and I wasn't a big fan. But then I thought, okay, why don't I try to like cook this a little bit, like fry it in a pan with a little bit of olive oil or some soy sauce. And I was like, oh, that's actually nice. I can eat it like this. So basically, I found my way into like eating more of these omega-3 fat-rich foods. And also, I was actually yeah, I mean, I was at that time, I was somebody who was snacking on dried fruit. I was eating like dried apricots and these kind of things. And I was like, I mean, it's fruit, right? So, but I mean,
And
in the end, it's
yeah,
all sugar.
sure.
I,
Well, yeah,
I
the
just
dried fruit for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very high sugar. And I didn't think, and then I thought, okay, but I'm having that, but I'm ha having like a handful of nuts with it. So it's a real good healthy snack. And I mean, it's funny that now I'm actually a nutritionist and I have so many clients, do that and think it's healthy. And I was like, I was the same, at that time.
Well, we don't
But
know what we don't know.
exactly. I mean, it's not that you're stupid or, you can only do, as well, you can only know what you know and, do the best for you with the knowledge that you have at the time, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
really no judgment, no judgment at all. But yeah, for me, I mean, I can say that when I came to change my diet and I was actually going much lower in carbohydrates, and also, not having any more of those dried fruits and things like that. I didn't have the migraines anymore. That was a revelation for me. I was like, oh my gosh, how could I have waited for so long? Also, I've always had like hormonal problems, with like everything around my cycle was horrible. I had the migraines, I had bad PMS, I had irregular cycles. I mean, nothing was good about it, really.
Hmm.
And I'm sure there's, women who've experienced much worse than I have. But basically, I did not have the migraines anymore, but also I did not have PMS, and my cycles got regular. And I mean, I was like, oh wow, how could I have waited until like I was 33, to discover
Amazing.
all this?
Which is a lot
Yeah.
younger than myself, and at least better late than never. It's not that late, but late enough that meant
Yeah.
that you had years of suffering behind you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like the first idea of cutting sugar when you were about 17, you were like, yeah, no. And
Yeah, it was actually, I mean, also, I think, now thinking back, is I've always been somebody who I need to understand the why. So this guy give me, I think he probably had the right idea. And if I had followed what he had told me at the time, it could have probably already helped me then. But he just didn't explain to me why I should do this.
uh-huh.
And he also didn't give me any assistance or instructions on, from somebody who was actually eating um, bread or toast in the morning with jam or Nutella.
Yeah.
I admit it. You know, going to, well, not having any sugar. And it was like, then, first the jam and also Nutella are loaded with sugar. But then you also understand that, oh, but bread, I mean, it doesn't have normally any added sugar, but it's actually high sugar itself.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we wouldn't
um,
think of that normally.
yeah, and then literally I was like, well, it's not possible. A normal person cannot follow this diet because you literally can't eat anything else anymore.
Which goes to
So,
show that what we think is food has been, even in Europe, where you grew up, and in England, where I grew up, we would still have this idea that it's just not possible to eat if you don't eat sugar. I mean, how we see food is that everything has sugar in it.
and
Whereas,
I'm getting this a lot actually now when so I mean at one point I basically stopped eating gluten. So I think that's now almost 15 years ago. So for me, this is really no big deal at all because I still eat bread and I still eat all the things, but I just make them myself and I make them a low carb version. Um, and I mean, I appreciate that right now. This is so part of my routine. It's, I'm not even thinking about it, but I get this a lot when when I tell them I don't eat gluten, they go like, but what are you eating then?
yeah.
And they have this really sorry look like, oh my gosh, this poor person, like she's depriving herself and she literally starving, she can't eat anything.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's true that if you were I'm not celiac. For me, it's really a choice. I don't want that stuff in my body. I know what it does to your digestive health. I know how much glyphosate is in those foods, and so I just don't want it. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, if I go to a restaurant and there may, be some gluten like accidentally, then yes, I'm probably not 100% gluten free. So, for somebody who has celiac disease, I know it is more difficult because, I mean, there's so much gluten hiding in, not the breads, but you go to a restaurant and there's, the sauces mainly, or even the salad dressing. They
Absolutely.
all they all have these things. So I appreciate that. In that sense, it's more difficult. But I mean, I also often recommend this to my clients, just order the sauce on the side and then you can still decide to eat it or not. And you can always, try to ask for just olive oil or butter or so. I mean, normally restaurants are able to accommodate these things. You just need to ask for them.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's, it's normalizing asking. And now it's way more normalized than it was when I was, in my 20s, my 30s, you
Yes, yeah, for sure.
right, you wouldn't dream of asking for anything out of the menu, whereas now the menu itself usually has little symbols to say gluten-free or vegetarian.
Yeah,
I just want to get back to this concept of how people perceive you and pity you, whereas
yeah.
here you are feeling so much better, and it's not you don't feel deprived, do you?
No, I don't.
And do you feel like you deserve pity?
No, it's actually the contrary because it sometimes can make things, you sometimes feel like an outcast, socially. Alcohol is kind of the same thing, it's if you don't want to drink alcohol, I mean, or, unless you're pregnant, I know it's getting more and more like normalized as well because there's more and more people who actually stop drinking. But then what I always experience, I mean, I really love to drink water. I don't have any problem with drinking water, but there's so many people who do. And
Mhm.
then if you go somewhere and you don't want alcohol, then people naturally want to offer you juice or soda. And if you say, I'll just have water, or and then it's also like, oh, are you sure you don't want juice? Or so I mean, it's just really, pushing all that sugar and all those things on you. And I know they mean well,
Sure.
but it's actually making things really awkward if you're, continue asking like, are you sure? And are you sure? So it actually makes me feel bad, for not accepting the juice in the end or the Coke or whatever it is.
Yeah, yes. And I think that, the more we carry on with this way of eating and drinking or not eating and drinking, depending on how you see you see it, the
Yeah.
more normalized it will be. And more people are now, it's just normal not to, or more normal than it used to be, not to eat gluten, sugar, not to drink alcohol. Do you find that as time goes by, you have less of that social pressure? I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar.
Well, I think already I know that like my brother, he's much younger than me, but he basically told me at one point because I was looking at his blood levels, blood panels, and I mean he had some serious, elevation of some blood markers, and I said to him, you really need to stop drinking. Um, and then he said, no, it's not possible. So, I mean, drinking was like for him, it's part of his weekend, going out with his buddies.
Yeah.
But also, what he said, I mean, he has a lot of networking events at work. And he said, as a guy, I just can't be there and not have a beer. And I
Mm,
think there, as a woman, it's already like much more accepted
yes.
that you don't drink. But there it's really, I mean, their men are really in the, in a worse situation. And I think they're also less prone to wanting to say no to these things because they feel awkward. So I think, I can see that's definitely like in the past 2 years, there's been a trend towards, and you see this, now a wealth of alcohol-free beers and gins and, whatever kind
Yeah.
of substitutes available. But I mean, for me also now from a nutritionist perspective, they're all substitutes, right? So it's all about, and I mean, I don't want to make anyone who enjoys a drink, feel bad, but it's the same with this veganism and, all these fake vegetarian foods. I always like to say to people, for me, it's better to just enjoy a glass of wine from time to time than, drinking a bunch of fake cocktails that are loaded with sugar,
Yeah.
or, eating fake meats that have like 50 different ingredients, than just have a real burger from time to time. So for me, it's really about going back to that, eating the real food versus the fake food. And I mean, I don't know what future will bring us with, lab raised meats and all these kind of protein sources. I don't know. I may change my mind in the future, but right now, this is what I feel. And also, I think mentally, when we're always, for me, when I think back of, I said I was a little bit of a sweet tooth.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was always craving those sweets and the carbs as well. And it is a little bit of a vicious cycle, right? Because when you're in it, your brain really needs that glucose, that energy
Yeah.
every 2 hours. So it claims that energy. And then when energy goes low, your brain will tell you, oh, give me something sweet, coffee, Coca-Cola. Other people go smoke a cigarette. But your brain really needs this boost every 2 hours. And if your body is not used to running on fat as a source of fuel, then it cannot access the energy otherwise. So you need to actually eat every 2 hours, or bring in some sort of snack that will keep you going. And so your body is claiming this, and you're kind of stuck in this vicious cycle where you eat the carbs, you get the blood sugar spike, and then you get the blood sugar low. Oh, and then you need to eat again. So you need to kind of break out of it for once, so that you actually don't feel the cravings anymore.
Yeah.
And that you actually can break out of it, and you can actually really, intuitively say, okay, I'm hungry now. Now I want to eat, and you can enjoy a full meal, and you don't need to snack all the time, or you don't need that, pick me up a couple of hours later, or you don't have that drop of energy, or feeling tired after a meal, or the bad mood that
Yeah.
comes with when your blood sugar goes low. So
Or the migraines.
yeah, exactly. That it can also be a trigger for migraines for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that
Yeah.
if somebody had explained it just like you have done, very well explained, when you were 17 and that idea of going sugar-free first was put to you, do you think you might have been a little bit more open to doing it if someone had explained it so clearly to you?
Yes, definitely. I mean, as I said, I'm this kind of person. I need to know the why. I need to understand why I'm doing this, and what will be my reward, or what could be, waiting for me at the end of it. But I think I would have probably also needed a little bit of help with, like, suggesting some alternatives, to foods that I could have eaten. Because at that time I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to. Basically, I was living on cereal and and bread, when I first moved out. That's all I had,
Yeah.
because I didn't know how to cook. And I mean, I just all learned all this, but I mean, it's also a little bit the convenience, right? Just having a sandwich, or having a bowl of cereal, or eating a fruit. And I mean, I always thought, fruit is so healthy. And that's a little bit of a like weird discussion that I often have with clients now, is that, I mean, I don't want to say fruit is unhealthy. It's not true. But many people are just eating too much of it, and maybe not the right way as well. And then they also have tendency to maybe reach to the sugary fruit, and I mean, that's also how most children grow up. I mean, that's what they get as a snack, right? Parents want to give them fruit as a snack because it's healthy.
Hmm.
Um, so that's definitely also something that can be like a very easy snack, just eating an apple, and it's a whole fruit. And I think apples are definitely a better choice than, mango or pineapple or grapes, for that matter.
Yeah, or
Um,
candies that are supposed to taste of those fruit.
yeah, but I mean, it's also honey. Honey is, it can be, it has polyphenols, it has like a lot of nutrients. And but I mean, there's a lot of people who actually they will drink tea all day and they will put honey in it. And what I always say to my clients is, I mean, as sad as this is, if you eat a piece of fruit or you eat some sweets on your blood sugar, it's the same thing. I mean, you might get some vitamins with it, on top, but basically your blood sugar response in your body is the same thing,
Yeah,
unfortunately. So
unfortunately. And you can get all of those vitamins without the sugar rush.
yes, yeah, definitely. And I mean, also when I grew up, I remember telling my dad because I was really worried about him because he would never eat fruit. And I said, but Dad, you need to get your vitamins. You need to eat the fruit. But I mean, I didn't know that there was vitamins in vegetables. And I mean, my parents probably also didn't know that, otherwise they would have told me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, there's all these kind of misconceptions as well, right? That we have, that we think of, things being healthy. And yeah,
Yeah. And again, we don't know what we don't know. And it's, thank goodness now information is much more available for us as consumers to
yeah.
educate ourselves. And people like yourself, that can explain things in terms that regular people can understand. And can I just ask for your migraines, have they completely disappeared?
Well, they have actually come back from time to time with, so I've had mold toxicity twice. And so, like in the past year, I've been battling with, getting the mold out of my system, and I've definitely had migraines again, but not the hormonal migraines that I used to have, linked to my cycle.
Okay, wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes. Well, that must be such a relief for you. Like, I know that migraines can be completely crippling, and especially
yeah.
if they're monthly. I mean, yeah, it really affects your quality of life. So, and do you still feel that can I ask how old you are now?
I'm 46.
46. So do you still feel that this way of eating is the way that you live your life, or do you see it as being temporary?
No, I mean, especially now being in perimenopause, this is what I also teach is really that's also where my focus is with, focus on hormone health and this, making that hormonal transition as easy as possible. And the thing is, the older we get, the less we actually tolerate the carbs. When we were younger, we could have, you could have maybe eaten a plate of pasta without having that blood sugar spike. But now, over 40, that's not the case anymore. So I think that's also what's happening to many women, that they just, continue eating the way they always used to eat. And then once all of a sudden, they don't feel good anymore doing it. So I
Mm.
would never say, there's like this one diet that's good for everyone and that is good for the rest of your life. But we definitely know that the older we get, our need for protein increases. So actually, the better we want to age, the more protein we need to eat so that we keep up our muscle mass, which keeps up our metabolism. So it's also, preventing like getting overweight, or also losing muscle mass is losing your vitality, right? So you're getting frail, and your muscles are also protecting your bone mass. So the less you have of all that, the less you will be vital and the less you will be strong as you age.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
message. Yes, thank you. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can find me on Instagram at Marieke Steen, is my handle. You can also go to my website, that's mariekesteen.com.
I'll
So you
put
can find I have a weekly blog where I share a lot of information, mainly about, it's all about hormones or detox or digestion, really, usually those three topics, or, anything that's really just trending right now, debunking myth about, superfoods or these kind of things. That's what you can find on my blog. Yeah, that's it. I think, yeah. I
fantastic.
do have a Facebook group for women if in perimenopause. It's
Okay.
called the Perimenopause Collective.
And it's all in
So
English?
yeah, everything is in English. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'll put those links with the episode. And thank you so much for meeting with me. Very inspiring.
That's my pleasure, really. I mean, this is really like, I think we kind of probably have the same aim, sharing the message and kind of, yeah, really sharing this information with as many people as possible so that they can also learn from it. And I mean, everyone has to decide what they want to do, right, with their life, with their nutrition. But at least the information is there, and then you can choose what you want to do with it.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Ah, what a great conversation with Marieke. And if you have ever suffered from migraines, I'm sure you relate to just how crippling they are and just how liberating it must feel not to have to suffer from migraines anymore. So there can be alternatives to medication, which doesn't mean that medication is no good. But Marieke found what works for her, and maybe a change in diet might work for you. But cutting down or cutting out sugar is much easier said than done. And in my experience, the most difficult step is the first step. And that's why I'm inviting you to take the Cravings Quiz. It's a 10-question quiz that I created especially to get you thinking a little deeper about your cravings. And whereas most quizzes give you generic feedback about your score, I'm offering you a free 15-minute call with me so I can give you some personalized advice based on your quiz score. And just a short 15-minute chat together could make all the difference to get you started on getting rid of cravings. So go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button, Do the Cravings Quiz. That's aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button to do the Cravings Quiz. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.